It's been around, but really Eric Smith at the Invitational, I think, kind of took Legacy by storm with his win at the Invitational, and then Gerard Fabiano's win at the Legacy Open the next day. Kind of a tough matchup, I think. It's like it has the phases, it has the Force of Wills, it has Spell Pierce, it has cards that can kind of interact with a Storm opponent. So while it is a fair deck, it does have ways to sort of interact more so than like a Shardless Bug deck, for instance. So, but it's really important for him to sort of go turn one Delver of Secrets because he doesn't have that many permission spells. So he needs some sort of way to kind of put pressure on Bryant and kind of force his hand. Whereas if Bryant is just very patient, he couldn't play around a lot of the permission spells that Friedman has. And in particular, he has main deck Silence, which we see right here in his opening hand. Makes it very easy for him to kind of force through his combo.
And we take a look at the opening hand there. Burning Wish, Silence, Gemstone Mine, Dark Ritual, Rite of Flame, Scalding Tarn, and all of his cards are very, very beautiful too.
Very
we saw
nice.
a Resolve Ponder there on turn one from Mr. Cook.
Yeah, so if Brian is just patient, it seems like he's going to be able to, in all likelihood, resolve his combo. Although Ben, playing Gataxian Probe, which you mentioned, you really like the fact that it's making more and more of an appearance in Legacy, gives Ben gets perfect information there, knows what he's working with, and is going to be able to shape the next few turns accordingly.
Yeah, I am a big fan of the probe. Get the information so that you know exactly what you want to do on the opening turns of the game. As you see, Friedman is going to fetch up a Tundra here after probing and getting that info. Again, Bryant Cook, the Epic Storm. This is what he's known to do. You see a Ponder here from Friedman, so he's going to be looking for some certain things.
Yeah, and if you took a glance at Friedman's hand, you can see he has a Swords to Plowshare in his hand. He also just pondered, and he sees like a Umazao Jite there, but he also has a Force of Will. So Ben's deck, I mean, this is kind of why you can see right here why game one can be a struggle for Delver because of the amount of dead cards you have. You know, cards like Lightning Bolt, Swords to Plowshare, you know, not very effective against Storm, and there's not that much you can do about it game one. You do have Brainstorm to kind of shape your hand, but Ben right now, he just has a couple of dead cards in his hand. So let's see if he can overcome that.
There's a Wasteland there from Friedman. He's going to resolve a Stoneforge Mystic. Probably going to be on the hunt for a Batterskull. Assuming he doesn't have any other equipment that's relevant to get. He's got a Jite too.
Yeah, he's got a Jite, but probably Batterskull is the card you want there. Now, if he has another mana, he can actually activate Wasteland next turn, play another mana, and then activate Stoneforge Mystic. So, and we know he does have I believe he kept the Force of Will off that Ponder. So he does have a way to stop Byron's combo right here. So let's see how aggressive Byron gets. Does he want to try to go for it on turn 3? That is one of the critical turns here for Storm. I apologize, Bryant. Bryant Cook. We have a slight typo on the screen there. His name is Bryant. I was going to say Byron sounds like a terrible name.
Yeah, I'd be mad at the parents if they went with that. Yeah, I'm already mad enough. I don't even like my name. So.
Speaking of terrible names, my name is Osip. Nice to meet you. I don't know who am I to criticize.
So we're going to see Bryant draw his card for the turn.
And Bryant here, you know, I don't think Bryant feels that much pressure to kind of go off. You know, he's at 18. He's just facing a Stoneforge Mystic. He knows about Batterskull, but I think the question is, how many turns can he afford to sort of give Ben in order to go off here? I think he's going to. It looks like he's going to cast the Burning Wish here. Do you think he's going to go for a Cabal Therapy? Does Ben even let the spell resolve?
It's a very, very good question here. Maybe the thought process is I'll counter what you do wish for. But Cook, waiting patiently to see if Friedman is going to let this resolve or not. You have to understand one thing, too. Cook is, no jokes, he's a very, very good Storm player. This is the last person I'd want to be playing for top 8 that's piloting Storm, on the Open Series. He's very, very good at playing the Epic Storm. This is a deck that he has helped design in multiple formats here. So you're going to see him go through, look for a card you did call Cabal Therapy. That's what he's going to go get.
So looks like he's going to try to set up the next turn to try to go off. He's going to cast Cabal Therapy. He could just name... oh, wow. So Daze. So, well, that's not terrible for Bryant because now Ben has the option of activating his Wasteland or trying to get that Batterskull into play. So he can't do both now.
Yeah.
So not terrible news for Bryant. because obviously I don't think he wants to get wastelanded just yet.
Yeah.
The deck doesn't play that many mana sources.
And you see Friedman considering doing that. You also see the daze in Friedman's hand right now as well. But don't forget that Cook has that silence in his hand, so maybe he was perfectly fine with that getting dazed there, or if it did buy out a Force of Will, which is probably what he was going to name if it did resolve. So maybe that was all part of the plan. Is if he does daze, then he can't do exactly what you mentioned, which is wasteland and put in the Batterskull.
Yeah, and it looks like there is a wasteland on top of Ben's deck, so he could try to go for the LD strategy here, and it looks like that is in fact what he will be doing. And decides to just wasteland right there, and probably just going to attack with the Stoneforge Mystic.
Now here's the question: is that the land that you wasteland? You have the option between a City of Brass, which can tap for any color, same with Gemstone Mine, even though it has 2 counters, or just taking care of the dual land. Does the life really matter versus the fact that City of Brass can tap for any color, like Silence, for example?
I agree with you. The fact that you saw Silence, I think you kind of want to just take out the City of Brass. Obviously, dealing a damage can be relevant, but given how this game is likely to play out, I don't think it's as relevant as making sure you can kind of keep Bryant off the mana that he wants, particularly because, one, Gemstone Mine only has 2 counters left, now only 1, but at the time when Ben did this, it only had 2, so there's a chance that it could just end up going away by itself. Plus, you do have another wasteland on top of your deck. So Ben's plan for the next turn is probably Delver of Secrets and then wasteland one of your lands. So obviously Batterskull is not going to be the plan right now. Now Ben's trying to think, do I daze the second Burning Wish that Brian's trying to get to resolve here?
It's a really good question. I mean,
it's tough because it does
really hard.
Ben's plan was wasteland you and then play a Delver of Secrets. Now that puts a wrench into his plan. So Brian, I think, is kind of happy with the way this is kind of shaping up right now, because yes, Ben's going to be able to wasteland a land here, but Ben doesn't have any more lands, so he can't cast Daze. He does have a Force of Will, but if Brian has a second land here, so
quickly
he doesn't.
passes back.
Wow.
Draws another Silence and very quickly passes back. See, Friedman draws a Scalding Tarn for the turn. Don't forget about the Tundra that's in his hand as well. And again, as you've mentioned, the Delver, the big question here too, though, is if he plays a Delver, does he have any more blue cards in his hand? You see him just attack for 1 here. He could play the Delver. Looks like he may be choosing not to. That means, to me, he doesn't have another blue card.
If he can't play Delver if he has no other blue cards in his hand.
So now we're going to see Bolt go upstairs. Probably going to see an Underground Sea. Or excuse me, a Volcanic Island come out here for Friedman. Bolt's not really going to do anything else, so you might as well just fire away.
Yeah, and again, I don't think Brian's in terrible shape here. He still has that Silence, so he can force out the Force of Will, so to speak. And he just needs another mana, and I think he might have a critical mass of rituals in his hand. I know he has a Lion's Eye Diamond.
The fun part too with the Silence, or back in the day with Orange Chant from Storm's decks, is you can cast it without the intention of actually going off.
Yep.
And is Friedman going to pull the trigger on Force of Will or not? Because now Cook has drawn a Lotus Petal, and you see him building a critical mass of cards in his hand. If he just casts Silence here, yes, he would have to lose the Gemstone Mine to do so, but is it a fake or is it a real Silence? As Friedman is going to put in the Batterskull with the Germ token, as Cook is going to discard Silence. But Friedman doesn't know that he has the other one in his hand, as Friedman's going to draw Swords to Plowshares and come in for 5, putting Cook at 5 and forcing his hand next turn.
Yeah, so Brian could have tried to go off last turn, but he wanted to get one more card. So it looks like he's going to go for it now. He has Lotus Petal. He has Gitaxian Probe now too. So I think he's going to try to go off this turn, obviously, because he's dead next turn because of the because of the Batterskull. So let's see how Bryant tries to navigate this turn here.
So he's going to start off with a Lotus Petal. Going to ask Friedman, is that okay? Really going to be interested to see the order of operations here for him, if he can get out of this situation. Again, if he does elect to alternate cast Probe, he's going to go down to 3, which would put him in the face of a Lightning Bolt, but I don't think he can really afford to worry about that at this point.
Well, he can, I think he really needs to try to dig into a land. He's going to lose if he doesn't draw a land, I believe so.
Swords, Force, Delver is the grip.
Okay, so he knows what he's working with here. I think he might need another land, not sure. I think he has a lot of rituals, but I don't think he has the right color. Can't quite make it out. It looks like he does have, because he's gonna have to at least use that. He's gonna have to use 1 mana to cast Silence.
Well, I don't think he has any intentions of casting Silence this turn. I think that he's going to try to do something to trick Friedman this turn. I don't think he has the mana to afford to cast Silence this game. I really don't. Friedman going to counter the Dark Ritual. He's going to counter the first ritual, and Cook is going to concede the game. Okay?
Brian just didn't have the colors that he needed there. he had a lot of ritual effects, but he just didn't have the right colors. If he drew a land off like a taxiing probe, I think he might have been able to do it. He could have cast Silence, and then I think he could have gone Ritual, Dark Ritual, Rite of Flame. He had the Lion's Eye Diamond too, so then he could have cast Burning Wish in response, sack my Lion's Eye Diamond, and that might have been enough mana to actually start the combo going.
Sure. Either way, it doesn't work out for Cook, so he's going to be down a game here. Friedman up 1. Blue-White Delver versus the Epic Storm. We'll take a look at Cook's sideboard first. 3 Abrupt Decays, 2 Chain of Vapors, 2 Xantid Swarms, 2 Cabal Therapies, 1 Grape Shot, 1 Empty the Warrens, 1 Tendrils of Agony, 1 Ill-Gotten Gains, a Past in Flames, and a Diminishing Returns. You look at the singleton cards here in Grape Shot, Empty the Warrens, Tendrils, Ill-Gotten Gains, Past in Flames, and Diminishing Returns. Those are going to stay put, I'd like to believe, just for the Burning Wishes that Cook plays. He plays 4 of them. We saw him wish for Cabal Therapy, and he may be able to board one of those in and then leave one to wish for if he'd like to, or he could just board both of those in. As far as the Xantid Swarms are concerned, he is against a deck that does have counterspells and instants, so does he want to board those in to help supplement his silences? That's a question. And then the 2 Chain of Vapors and 3 Abrupt Decays, those are more for your Gaddock Teague, your Ethersworn Candace type cards, which you'll be able to tell me in a second if Friedman has access to those.
Yeah, honestly, it gets much worse for Bryant after board. Ben has a lot of cards that he can bring in for this matchup. He has a 4th Force of Will that he can bring in. He has 3 Flusterstorms, which are very good against Storm. He has another copy of Spell Pierce, which he can bring in. He has 2 copies of Meddling Mage, which are actually quite effective against Storm. He has some other cards. He has like 3 copies of Rest in Peace, which maybe you want against the Ill-Gotten Gains plan, but in general, though, I think the combination of Flusterstorm, Force of Will, Spell Pierce, Meddling Mage, those are 7 cards that really can put a hurting on the Storm player, and he's more than happy to board out some combination of Lightning Bolt, Swords to Plowshare, maybe the Jeté. Probably a lot of Manzer I think is probably okay. At least you get some 1-drop in there. But yeah, definitely Swords to Plowshares are coming out, and probably Lightning Bolt too. I mean, Lightning Bolt not really that effective. Yeah,
not great. I mean, it is just a glorified Lava Spike in this matchup, so I could certainly see that coming out. The question is, how does Bryant want to go about winning this game? Mostly he's going to be winning off the back of Burning Wish. You take a look at the cards that actually allow him to kill the opponent in his deck, past all these rituals and cantrips and all those other things. There's an Empty the Warrens in his main deck. There's an Ad Nauseam to help facilitate things in his main deck, but he's going to be based off of actually casting Burning Wish. Burning Wish, you're going to be able to find Tendrils, Ill-Gotten Gains, Past in Flames, which can create the loop more so on Diminishing Returns. So what is the strategy for him to actually go about winning the game, which is going to be casting Burning Wish, and he might have to cast a Burning Wish to get Past in Flames or Ill-Gotten Gains to continue to go off. That's why you mentioned those Rest in Peace. Those are going to be pretty important in this matchup, because of course Tendrils is the way that he kills his opponent, but he has to go through some work to actually get to Tendrils, and a lot of the times when you're playing or watching either version of Storm, be it Ant or the Epic Storm, they need Past in Flames or use of their graveyard to go off.
Yeah. So, yeah, Rest in Peace probably coming in then. In that case, you're going to have basically 10 cards that Ben has access to bring in.
Ugh,
and
that's scary.
And he has plenty of cards he can board out. Like, he has the 4 Lightning Bolt, the 3 Swords of Plowshare, the Jeté, and probably the 2 Grim Lavamancers too. And just go on the plan of having so many permission spells that Brian just can't contend with all of them.
And I'll tell you, I don't love Geist of St. Traft in this matchup for Friedman either, just because he cannot afford to tap out on turn 3.
That's true, yeah.
It is a blue card, though.
It is a blue card, yeah. So if I'm going to board out one of the cards, I think I'd probably rather board out Lavamancers than...
I think I'm with you on that one. So Cook is going to be on the play this game. We'll see if he's going to keep. He's got a Gemstone Mine. So he is going to keep his hand. He's going to play that and pass the turn back to Friedman.
And if Friedman does actually get the Meddling Mage, what do you think he names it? You think he names Silence? What do you generally name in this matchup? I think Silence is a reasonable card to name, because you are boarding in so many permission spells that, given the fact that you know he has Silence in his deck, do you want to just turn those off and make your permission spells not have to fight over those silences?
The tough thing is that he actually does Cook. He actually needs Burning Wish to resolve to be able to win the game. So he can't win without actually casting a resolving Burning Wish. So that's where I'd want to go. The problem here is that how familiar is Friedman with this version of Storm, because you see a lot of the take Adam Prozac's Storm deck. You can call that Ad Nauseam Tendrils. Ant. That one, Adam does use Burning Wish, but he also has a Tendrils in his main deck.
Yeah.
So where Cook does not. Cook relies on actually finding a Tendrils via Burning Wish. So to me, it's pretty obvious because I have the deck list in front of me. You name Burning Wish because they can't go off without killing it. But for Ben, he may name something different based off of his prior experiences playing against Storm decks.
Yep, that makes sense. So Bryant casting a Brainstorm on his main phase. He has 2 Gemstone Mines up. And let's see what he does here. It looks like he wants to get rid of some of his lands. He has a couple of Lotus Petals. It looks like a Dark Ritual. Not sure if he has any of the core spells of his deck. He might have a Burning Wish in there. So it looks like, yep, it looks like we might be trying to go for it here. Yep, here we go. So let's see what happens here. Burning Wish gets cast. It looks like Ben does have access to Daze.
Got sort of Feast and Famine in his hand too, boy. All right.
And he has a Force of Will as well. So he has Daze and Force of Will.
All right. So Friedman's got a good hand, and after sideboard, of course, his deck is going to be much more streamlined to be reactive.
Yeah.
You know, he's got a ton of cards. You even mentioned those Fluster Storms, the Singleton Spell Pierce. So it looks like he is doing pretty well against the Storm deck. You're going to see Duress here from Cook. That's what he's going to get, and he's going to pass it back over to Friedman.
So Bryant taking his time. He played the Lotus Petal play around Daze to make sure the Burning Wish resolved there, and now he's going to set up a Duress for next turn.
Could be a Duress go off turn, maybe.
Perhaps, yeah. Basically, if you can just deal with the Force of Will, I don't think there's another hard counter in Ben's hand.
Ben looks like he may lead off his turn with a Brainstorm here, maybe.
Yeah, it really depends. Again, these 3-color decks, the blue cards are so valuable because you have to pitch them to Force of Will. So you really want to make sure you can manage those correctly. So, but I agree with you. I'm not sure. Maybe he wants to try to go for a dig for a Meddling Mage here, because that's a proactive way for him to actually stop the Burning Wish combo.
Again, the blue card's over in the Friedman's hand. We see a Force of Will. We see a Brainstorm. We know he has a Daze as well. He's going to start off with that beautiful Brainstorm. Lightning Bolt, Gataxian Probe, Misty Rainforest. The most important of those to me is the Gataxian Probe.
Yeah, Gataxian Probe gives him a lot of information. Looks like he's thinking about putting the Sword of Feast or Famine on top of his library here.
I think it's easy to put that Lightning Bolt back. I would be surprised if he just doesn't put Lightning Bolt and Stoneforge Mystic back, and he can just try to ride that Sword of Feast of Famine on the Mystic that he hasn't played to victory.
Yeah, I think I'm surprised that the Lightning Bolt is still in his deck, to be honest. So, be surprised if he wants to keep it. Maybe he's afraid of. Honestly, I'm not sure why it would be in the deck still, but yeah, I don't want to get rid of Sword of Feast and Famine. I could see getting rid of the other Stoneforge Mystic. And then maybe one of your lands.
Yeah, he set down the Stoneforge and Misty Rainforest. Stoneforge on the bottom, Misty on top. We're keeping the Lightning Bolt. And that's how he's going to set it. It looks like brainstorming is fun. This is me when I brainstorm every time. This is why I don't cast it. If I was, my opponent would hate me if I was casting brainstorm. I have no idea what I'm doing. It's so hard.
So, yeah, looks like Ben is keeping the Sword of Feast of Famine. Looks like he might be just going for land Stoneforge Mystic. So, yeah, those are going to go top of his library. Maybe they aren't.
This is the double pump fake. We're looking for the triple. Nope, just the double pump fake.
So, it looks like he does have a Gataxian Probe. He can sacrifice the Scalding Tarn to get a free draw here and get rid of those Stoneforge Mystics. So, Ben thinking about what he wants to do here.
He's just going to pass it back.
Pass the turn.
All right. A little surprised to see him not probe there. I guess he just wants the blue card for Force.
I think he wants Force. Pitch a Daze to Force, or pitch Gataxian Probe to Force
and be able to Daze. All right. Duress is the call of the day here. You see, Friedman's going to sacrifice Scalding Tarn, going to get a land out of his deck and be able to shuffle those cards away from the Brainstorm. You see Cook slide the Duress on the table. That's currently what's on the stack. And that's what Friedman is responding to. You see him reaching for it. It looks like he's going to go with a hard cast Daze. Maybe? Ooh.
Oh, so I think Ben thinks that Bryant's not going to be able to combo off through double Daze. Although Bryant has a lot of mana in play.
So face up. Interesting. He's just going to show him double Daze, Force of Will, Gataxian Probe, Lightning Bolt, and the land. Doesn't want to take the Sword of Feast and Famine with the Duress. And he's basically daring him, can you go off through double Daze? I don't think you can.
Yeah,
it's a bold strategy.
It is a bold strategy, because again, you mentioned it. Why didn't he Gataxian Probe? Why didn't he sacrifice the Scalding Tarn and get a free draw with the Gataxian Probe? assuming he was going to do that to try to counter the duress with the force will. But now, obviously you're going to lose your duress either way. But if you force it, Bryant doesn't have any other information, so now maybe he won't go off this turn. But maybe Ben thinks he can it's hard for him to go off through double days, but Bryant has so much mana in play.
Well, I got news for you. After him playing that Lotus Petal, now this Dark Ritual, he's moving in.
Yeah, just seems unlikely that Ben's going to be able to stop him with just double days.
Yeah, and again, Dark Ritual is going to be placed onto the stack here. Cook's got some cards in his hand, but he is making his move now. A loud declaration that I'm going to try to kill you this turn, and I am pretty sure I can beat those 2 dazes. Here's daze number 1. One thing to keep in mind here too, Osip, those dazes are adding to the storm count.
Definitely, yeah.
So it's going to be even easier now for Cook to actually be able to go lethal. And you see Cook's going to count the spells: Duress, Dark Ritual, Daze, that's 4, Lotus Petal's 5, Ad Nauseam is 6, and away we go.
And the thing about Ben's play the other turn is, he decided to not use the Cataxian Probe, which is okay, fine. I can understand that if your plan is to counter the duress. However, if you don't do that, you're basically just giving Bryant perfect information. However, if Ben decides to force the duress, he doesn't have to actually sacrifice the Scalding Tarn. He doesn't have to activate the Stoneforge Mystic and tap out. So even though Bryant might go for it, I think Bryant hesitates a lot more if there's mana up. He might have to play around Flusterstorm. There's just a lot more things that he might have to play around if Ben doesn't give him access to know what's in his hand and has mana up.
You see Cook right now has slowed down on his Ad Nauseam. He's revealed a Cataxian Probe, a Brainstorm, a Cabal Therapy, a Dark Ritual, ×2, another Cabal Therapy, a Rite of Flame, an Empty the Warrens, and an Infernal Tutor. You count the damage there. We're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 plus 4 is 13. So Cook is at a virtual 7 right now through Ad Nauseam, and he has slowed down considerably because remember, he used all of his mana, it looks like. He Dark Ritualed, he got double daze, he paid both the dazes, that's 3, sacked 2 Lotus Petals, that's 5, so he has no mana floating.
But did he play a land this turn, though? That's the thing. I'm not sure if he played a land this turn. Because if he didn't play a land this turn, he should be in good shape because he has the City of Brass. So he can actually cast Ritual. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if he played a land yet either this turn. We can get confirmation from our spotter to see if they have played. If Cook has played a land for the turn, it's going to weigh heavily into his decision here. One of the things that's also part of his decision process too is he's going to pick all those cards up. Is that he has to take damage from Cataxian Probe if he wants to cast it. So he would go down to 5, and he has played a land this turn.
Yeah, so he's basically setting it up to go off next turn. Which is fine. He's at 7. The best thing Ben can do is basically equip up my Stoneforge Mystic, attack you, untap. Maybe he top decks Meddling Mage.
He's got a bolt in his hand. He's going to die because Stoneforge plus equipment is 3, bolt is 3, so that's 1.
Yeah.
That's not 0, obviously.
Yeah, he doesn't have quite enough to deal 7. So maybe he was ahead of curve by keeping that bolt.
No. And
now he just needs another bolt.
Yeah, right? If he drops another bolt, that's lights out. You see Ben's going to do some counting and some math here.
Or not only that, but if Ben just goes equip attack, I don't think Bryant knows about the lightning bolt. Like it wasn't revealed. I don't think attack. Oh wait.
Yeah, duress from duress. He saw it.
Yeah, so he does know about the bolt.
Is he moving in? Oh, it looks like he's discarding. I think.
Yeah, he's just
discarding, setting up for next.
He knows
turn.
he can't. He's taking.
Look at the Empty the Warrants. He wanted to discard it. I don't know if he wants to now. Okay. That's 7 cards.
Yeah.
Discard the therapy. He knows that Ben doesn't have any counter spells in his hand right now. He's got those 4 lands in play, so he needs to make it to next turn. Friedman draws a card. It's a daze, which does not have a huge impact on this game right now. Could. Doesn't feel like it will, though.
So if we equip here, Bryant will have to discard another card, the Sword of Feast and Famine. And Ben will be able to untap both his lands. Ben does have the Cataxian Probe, though, so he can dig a little deeper. Alright, so here's your land. He's going to play Volcanic, which I like, in case he draws that other bolt off of the Cataxian Probe. So in comes the Mystic. Damage is going to resolve. Trigger's going to go on. Cook has to discard. Friedman gets to untap. The only awkward thing about playing the Volcanic Island, though, is I believe he has a Tundra. So if he plays the Tundra and then he casts Cataxian Probe, he can actually, if he draws into Meddling Mage, he can cast it. Now he can't.
Good point.
So let's see what he's going to do here. It looks like
looks
he's,
like
oh, he's going to hard
cast.
cast it.
Wow. Okay.
So trying to make sure he doesn't get, so maybe he just wants to make sure that he doesn't get below 16, keep himself out of tendrils range, perhaps.
Draw Spell Pierce.
Not a bad draw, not a bad draw. But again, Bryant has a lot of ritual effects. He might be able to play around this enough. Looks like he has a land too.
He's going to start off with Brainstorm. I wonder if we're going to see a Pierce on that. When are we going to see this Pierce? Because we certainly are going to. And Cook, he does not know about the days or the Spell Pierce.
Yeah, both those cards were drawn on Ben's turn, so they were not revealed off the rest. So that's a really good turn for Ben because he drew basically 2 cards that kind of can throw a wrench in the works for Bryant. Obviously, the days alone didn't seem that impactful, but the fact days in combination with Spell Pierce.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see what Bryant's going to do here. And again, it's the same thing where he might not just have the right colored mana because he has Rite of Flame and Dark Ritual. It's just, even though he might be able to pay for the Spell Pierce and the days, it still might come down to the fact that he just doesn't have because he doesn't have like Manamorphose in his deck right
Yeah.
to sort of filter through all that mana.
All right, so Dark Rit time.
Yeah, if this resolves, I think he's probably okay.
I think he's good if it resolves, but I can't imagine Ben doesn't Spell Pierce this.
Yeah, it all comes down to what Ben decides to Spell Pierce. I think you want to try to put pressure on his colored mana right now. With those 3 Gemstone Mines, you want to make sure he just doesn't have the right colored mana that he's looking for. I'd rather let him have triple black than just access to anything.
Yep, I'm with you.
Yeah, I like Spell Piercing and days here.
What's he gonna do?
Maybe he's gonna try to just daze here. See what happens. You can return to Volcanic Island.
You saw him reaching for that Volcanic Island, considering that Spell Pierce. Another thing to keep in mind, Cook has another Dark Ritual in his hand, so he can get a little bit creative about how he goes around. Oh, he's gonna let it resolve.
Wow,
oh boy.
resolve.
Yep, this is where it gets bad. It's when the first ritual resolves.
Yeah, so
that's when the cost. That's That's when the Spell Pierce and the dazes get so much worse because it's go time now.
Brian looks like he just has too much mana.
Mm-hmm.
He can cast whatever he wants.
So he went Rit. So he goes from 1 to 3. 3 minus 1 is 2 up to 5 minus 1 is 4 up to 7. So 7 minus 1 is 6 plus that red. So he's got 6 black floating.
And I believe 5 spells on the stack.
Yep.
3 Dark Rituals and a Brainstorm.
Yep. And then that Burning Wish is going to be number 5. So 6 black mana floating. Uses the Gemstone Mine for the red. He's going to go through the old sideboard.
He has Infernal Tutor, I believe, in his sideboard. No.
He has Infernal Tutor in his main deck. 4 of them. Oddly enough, we haven't seen any of them. He's going to get Past in Flames now. Again, remember, he does have 6 black floating. There goes the red mana. So 7 total. 7, 6. So it's 7 minus 4, so that's 3. 3 floats.
3 black floating.
Can he keep going? You see, Friedman's going to look at the graveyard.
And it looks like he has all 4 Dark Rituals in his graveyard right here. So let's see, he has 3 mana floating. If Friedman spell pierces the Past in Flames, he pays 2, he has 1 black left. Yep. So now he's going to go for it.
Yep, so now he's going to spell pierce it, and Cook's going to say, all right, pay it. Daze it, pay that too.
So now Past in Flames can resolve, but he doesn't look like he has enough red mana here. But he has an Ad Nauseam, not that he doesn't have in the Ill-Gotten.
Oh yeah, he's not. He can't cast on Nauseam at this point, obviously. He's going to play an
there's a Lionside Diamond.
Okay.
So there he goes. He has. He should have all the colored mana he needs now.
That's a big one after. You see, he does have to have 1 land left, so this is going to go bye-bye. We're going to Rit up. 3, 5, 7, up to 9. Duress makes it 8. Spell count is a plenty. Bolt is gone. 8 black floating. Infernal Tutor, crack this in response. Looks like he's probably going to name red with that. Go get a Burning Wish. Burning Wish is going to go get a Tendrils of Agony. And Osip, I think we're on to a third one, my friend.
There you go. Brian Cook navigated this one really well, and looks like Burning Wish for Tendrils of Agony should do it.
Sir.
There's plenty of spells on the stack.
Yeah, so. I would say so. So Brian Cook wins game number 2 over Ben Friedman. The Epic Storm is fighting back against Blue-White-Red Delver. Cook's very, very skilled Storm pilot, but he's got one more match to go, and he's going to be on the draw this time, and that makes things even more difficult.
I wonder what happens if Ben just spell pierces that Dark Ritual.
See, that's the one I think you have to start with Spell Pierce. It puts Cook in such a difficult decision about what to do, because again, he had those 3 lands open, I believe, at that point.
Yeah.
Where, you know, if you dark rituals, Spell Pierce happens. Do you pay? Then you get days. Can you pay for that one? Not quite sure.
Basically, if he spell pierces there, I think if he daze first, it's free spell, just daze it. He probably pays for it.
Okay.
And then if you spell pierce, what is his option? He basically can cast the other ritual. I'm not sure he'd have enough mana to actually go off. He had ritual. It's possible he still would have had enough. I'm not quite sure. The thing is, though, he ended up needing a red in order to cast the Passing Flames.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not sure. That's one of those things where it's always tough to know which spell you're supposed to counter stuff.
Wait till we get instant replay. We can just rewind it. That's all. We can just bring it up on the screen, and it'll be even easier then. I can't wait for that day. It's hard to retrace the footsteps exactly what he's supposed to do, because, you know, if he does cast a Dark Ritual and Friedman spell pierces it, so he's got 3 mana up, is he going to pay for the spell pierce? And then he's got 1 mana left, and he uses 2 of the lands, which means he's got 1 gemstone mine left, and then Dark Ritual is still on the stack. So let's say that then Ben dazes it. Is he going to pay?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Because if he pays, it's like, okay, now I don't have access to any more red mana, but I've got the Lion's Eye Diamond in my hand. But what he ended up doing is going ritual, and then casting a.
He went ritual, and then he used one of the gemstone mines to cast a Burning Wish.
Yeah.
So he needed that red mana.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing.
And LEDs can't provide that red mana for Burning Wish.
Exactly.
You have to discard first. Yep. And I think that would have made things very, very difficult on him. But he did have 3 Dark Rituals, and then you have to ask yourself the question, okay, he spell pierces, he lets that one resolve. He lets the spell pierce resolve. Sure, I lose my first Dark Ritual, so let's ritual again. And Ben's going to go, all right. And so now he still has the 3 lands, but he uses one of them for the Dark Ritual, and Ben goes daze it. Is he going to use one of those lands again, which I think he can, to pay for it? Now Ben's out. He's got 3. He goes up to 5, and then he can go Burning Wish. He can cast Burning Wish. Go up to 6 to get Passing Flames, and then he can. Yet he'd have to go Burning Wish. He'd be okay actually then, because he would play the LED, then he would cast Burning Wish, break it in response, and then cast Passing Flames, and then re-go. Actually, no.
I don't think you'd have enough.
This is so hard.
It's tough.
We
need instant replay.
We need replay bad.
But basically, I think the critical thing for me though was when Ben let the duress resolve, as opposed to pitching a Cataxian Probe to Force of Will.
Yeah.
I felt like he should have just pitched the Cataxian Probe to Force of Will and put the pressure back on Bryant to determine whether or not he should go off.
Yeah.
You know, you have mana up. Maybe it's going to be tougher for Bryant to kind of figure out what he's supposed to do there. He did end up going for the ad nauseum there, but again, I think not knowing about what's in Ben's hand. Does he have Flusterstorm? What could he possibly have? Mm-hmm. I think Ben's just in a better position because in the end, the Cataxian Probe didn't really end up doing that much. It did draw him a Spell Pierce, but I don't know. It's really tough. It's one of those things where you never know what the right spell is to counter. But in that situation, I just feel like I'd rather just counter the beginning and regret it than just end up having those spells do nothing.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's really interesting because I feel like every time a Storm player is playing against counter spells, especially counter spells that make them pay more mana, every time, as you're going to see, Delver's Secret, so a fantastic start here from Friedman, they are always hoping that the first ritual gets through.
Yeah.
They're always just like, Red of Flame. And the opponent's like, sure, I'll counter something else. They're like, no, you won't. And they just go off. That's what I see happen a high percentage of the time. And I'm guilty of that too, because I never know which one to counter either. But now, and it's not like I play blue very often, but if I ever do go back into the island territory, I'm just going to counter the first one.
Well, it's really it's one of those things that you can only figure out if you just play test a lot.
Yeah.
And who really wants to play test against Storm? You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like it's one thing to test fun matchups, but nobody wants to play test against Storm. It's such a one-sided matchup. It's like it's one of the least fun things you can do probably. So pretty good, like you mentioned, pretty good start for Bren. He's got the turn 1 Delver of Secrets on the play. He also has a Force of Will and a Daze in his hand, as well as a Wasteland.
I'm going to see a Brainstorm here. Lotus Petal, Underground Seed, play Lotus Petal, cast a Brainstorm. Get a little deeper, get a little more info. Let's get to work.
So trying to sculpt perfect hand here. He is going to have to contend with a Delver's Secrets and a possible Insectoid Aberration. And then Ben, of course, does have that Wasteland, so he's going to be able to stunt Bryant's mana a little bit. Yeah, Delver's Secrets, Wasteland, Daze, Force of Will. Pretty much exactly what you're hoping for.
He misses on the top, and he draws a Stoneforge Mystic, so only in for 1 as opposed to 3. There's a Wasteland. Get that Underground Sea out of here.
So could have been much worse for Bryant. Let's see what he does here. Does have another mana.
Stifles?
Or another land, rather. Doesn't look like there's any Stifles in his deck.
Wow. That's one thing he gets to fade lucky him. Doesn't have to worry about that too much. There is an Underground Sea.
So we're going to see a Ponder here, perhaps. It looks like Bryant does have a Silence, so he does have a way to kind of try to force through his combo.
I hope we get to see the Bluff Silence.
No, the good old Bluff Silence.
It's my favorite. That's
the
one
Masashi Oiso.
I was gonna say that's one of my favorite stories of all time.
Yeah.
Where that was
Bluff
at
Orem Chant.
That was at Pro Tour. That was at
LA.
Pro Tour. Was it LA or Columbus?
Pro Tour LA.
Okay, it was against Neil Reeves, right?
Yep.
Where
both
you can
Stone Masters.
Yeah.
Basically, Neil Reeves, old school Pro Tour player, very, very good player. He basically was playing Psychotog versus Masashi Oiso, Hall of Famer, who's playing Balancing Things. Masashi actually sacrificed a land to generate a white mana, one of those invasion lands where you sacrifice to generate 2 mana. Sacrificed a land so he cast Orem's Chant, trying to bait Neil to cast a counterspell, and Neil just said, "You don't have anything. Okay, go ahead." And he let it resolve, and Masashi just had to pass the turn.
Yep.
So great play by Masashi, but even better read. You know, it's like it's like what does Jeff Van Gundy say during the basketball games? You know, great defense, better offense.
Yeah, it's just great. It's just an unbelievable story. So you saw Gitaxian and Probe there resolve for Cook. Now I was going to cast a Ponder. Going to see if Friedman's going to allow this to resolve. Cook saw double Stoneforge Mystic, Wasteland, Daze, and Force of Will. So Cook is saying, do you want me to lose my Lotus Petal from this Ponder? I'm willing. At least you may think I'm willing.
Yeah, I gotta say, watching Bryant play, I get the same feeling when I watch someone like Adam Prozac play this deck. It's really great watching someone play a deck this complicated who just knows the in and outs, knows what matters, knows exactly what they need to do to go off. It's really actually a lot of fun. Granted, I wouldn't want to play against them.
Yeah, no, me either. I don't want any part of this.
But as a spectator, it is a lot of fun watching these people try to assemble this puzzle, you know?
It's fun for me here in the booth to try to keep up with them. It's our job in here to kind of keep up with the lines of play and kind of maybe guess what they're trying to accomplish and stuff like that. But I'm no Storm aficionado like Bryant is, so I'm kind of guessing along with Ben over there about what am I supposed to counter, how much mana can he make, and hopefully get out of this thing alive. Which Bryant has decimated 7 people there, so not many people have gotten out alive here. You're gonna see a Silence. Jeez.
Wow. This might be a Bluff Silence.
I think it might be a Bluff Silence too. But are you sure?
Yeah, Ben's in a tough spot because he doesn't have 2 blue cards in his hand to actually pitch to the Force of Will and use the other blue card to pitch that he can pitch to the Force of Will is that Daze. It's like one of those situations where all right, buddy, you're doing something complicated.
Why? Why are you casting Silence? Why are you thinking about something?
Yeah.
All you gotta do is counter it.
Yeah, just counter it, buddy.
And again, I believe Cook has played a land this turn. I think he played Underground Sea.
Yeah, because he got Wasteland in the turn
Yeah,
before.
he could so easily just go Lotus Petal, Ritual, see ya.
Yeah, he definitely does have another Lotus Petal in his hand, so this could potentially just be trying to go off this turn, not just a bluff.
This is where the game gets great. This is the game inside the game right here.
Yep, lets it resolve.
All right, Lotus Petal. Oh no,
Oh.
Dark Ritual. Lion's Eye
There's
Diamond.
the Lion's Eye Diamond.
Oh my God! LED break in response, and he's gonna brainstorm. It looks like he's gonna discard Brainstorm.
It's discarding the Lion's Eye
discard,
Diamond. Yeah. So how much mana does he
I
have
think he
left?
might just go empty. Yeah, he's just gonna make goblins. That's it. He's just gonna make a ton of goblins. He's empty on mana. He's just moving in. That's why he's got the one Empty the Warrens in his main deck. He's played a bunch of spells this turn, and he is moving in. Storm is 8.
So 16 goblins coming to play.
Jesus.
Which are represented by
6, 12, 13,
16.
16. Sweet Caroline.
All right, deal with it.
Yeah, no kidding.
Delver, secrets on D.
Yeah, yeah, it's a 1/1 still. He just drew a Delver. Oh my goodness.
So let's see here. Ben can play Stoneforge Mystic. Search for a Batter Skull.
Yeah, how does Batter Skull work? I don't know.
No, I don't even know if there's a white mana.
There's that. I don't even know if Batter Skull can catch up in this equation. There's few that it can't.
Yeah, this is not. You're playing another Delver secret.
Oh boy, Delver's never looked this bad. Yeah. Even altered ones have never looked this bad.
Ben definitely regrets cutting those electricaries from his sideboard.
I mean, did he have a winning play? If he Force Wills the Silence, I think he's still dead.
Yeah, because forcible silence basically just it's like silencers resolving.
Yeah,
anyway, 'cause
yeah.
you're not interacting anymore anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
So it wasn't a bluff at all. Cook just had it all. And you see Friedman's going to draw his card. He's got Forcible over there. He's got Daze. He's got Stoneforge Mystics. What he doesn't have is white mana. And we got a Gataxian Probe. He's going to hardcast. Cook says, "Here's a Lotus Petal. Take a look. That's not what matters." Spell Pierce, and that is it. Bryant Cook. Oh
Wow.
boy, he's moving on to the top 8. And the other 7 people that are in there, I would not want to be paired against him. The Epic Storm is coming for another championship, defeating Ben Friedman and blue-white-red Delver. Friedman keeping a really good hand and off to an insane start. Delver, Wasteland, you have Forcible, have Daze, does not matter.
Yeah, what a